We're just going to give everyone a second to get connected to the audio and joining. We're excited to have you all here this evening. Looks good. So tonight, what we're going to be talking about is setting up for safety success. So each of our doulas attending are going to share a little tip and some information, not around necessarily baby proofing, but around being prepared when babies first come home and newborn care. So that's how we're going to start our evening, is meeting our team members and sharing some information. If you have any questions, please pop them in the chat or ask them at the end. And at the end of our evening, the highlight is going to be our breakout rooms. So what will happen then is each attendee will have their own breakout room, and the doulas will come through and visit in private chats. So please put in the chat if you plan on attending so that we can have that set up and ready to go at the end of the presentation portion. So I am starting. My name is Amanda Kennedy. I am a postpartum doula with Helping Hands. What I wanted to share about was something that we offer here at Helping Hands. It's actually part of our prenatal classes, and our prenatal classes are also a great way to prepare in the safety sense for newborns' arrival and things to do and think about. And I know that our other doulas are planning on sharing some things that can be expanded on in prenatal classes. But the one in particular that I wanted to talk about is our virtual CPR course. So we do have a CPR and infant safety instructor that we have access to that teaches a virtual CPR course as part of one of the classes that we offer. It's a great way to learn how to look after a newborn, things to think about, and some of those situations that we don't really like to think about but can happen, not often, but being prepared is always the best solution to almost anything. And it is a great option and a really affordable option that's offered through our prenatal classes, and can also be upgraded to in person, which is pretty neat to have someone come to your home and be able to share that information as well. So my tip is to enjoy some of the virtual CPR courses and all our other prenatal classes as well that we offer at Helping Hands. Next, we have Jessica Johnston.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Hope you're enjoying the snow as much as possible. Okay, so firstly, I'm a postpartum doula here with Helping Hands, and I'm going to be talking about bath time safety. So for new parents, the first bath is a pretty big milestone. And sometimes it can feel a little bit scary, or I can see first parents being a little bit nervous at the first bath. I certainly was myself as a first-time parent. So there's a few things that you can do to set yourself up for success and just feel like you're in control of the situation going into it, which I think really alleviates those feelings of insecurity or anxiety around doing something that's brand new. So most importantly, when you're going to give your newborn their first bath, or any bath for that matter, you want to set up a nice station right beside where you're going to bathe the baby. So the goal is to have everything in one spot, so you avoid walking around with a slippery, wet baby unnecessarily and adding to your anxiety around the situation. So firstly, there's different kinds of baths. You could have a basin, like a freestanding basin that you could put on your dining room table. It is a nice place. Or if you have roomy counters in your bathroom, that works too. Wherever works best for you, and there's enough space to set up a little spot next to the bath where you would put a little change mat, a towel, and essentially everything that you need for the baby once you put them in the bath and afterwards take them out. So all your diapers, washcloths, the shampoo, like everything you can think of that you might need. Excuse me. Um, you could also have a type of bath that's like a little prop. So an insert that could go into a sink, and that works too. It's just a personal preference, depending also how much space you have in your home. Um, so yeah, have all of your clothes that you want to put on baby afterwards, like all the clean stuff. And then the goal is essentially you don't have to leave the baby unattended, like on a surface to go grab something. Um, and then there's a lot less tears as well, just getting baby prepared quickly after the bath. Another thing to consider is making the room that you're going to bathe your baby in a little bit warmer. That helps as well. Again, going back to the anxiety piece of it, if you have a crying baby, that makes the experience a little bit more stressful. So anything that you can do to make the room comfortable for the baby, maybe putting the shower on in the bathroom beforehand, so it's nice and steamy in there. There's different ways of going about it. And like Amanda said, we have a prenatal class that goes over a lot of this stuff. Another thing is the temperature of the water. So you don't want it to be too hot, but you also don't want it to be too cool because that's going to startle the baby and make it not pleasant for them. So you want it to be a little bit higher than body temperature. And the best way to check is with your wrist. It's good to practice getting comfortable with that because the thermometers that are on offer are great, but they can be a little bit inaccurate. So checking with your own, the inside of your wrist here is the best way. And then another thing to think about too is depending on the kind of bath that you have, if it's just a plastic basin, you might want to put like a burp cloth or a face towel on the area where the baby's going to be resting so that they're not slipping around. Again, just making things extra safe. So some salient points would be never carry the water basin with the baby in it. Never leave the baby alone in the tub either. And something to consider also is just not to submerge the cord stump. So if the umbilical cord is still on there, just do like a light bath around that area and then make sure to properly air dry the cord stump before you get your baby dressed. I think that covers.
My name is Carla. I am a postpartum doula. I do both day and overnight shifts. And I wanted to talk a little bit about diaper changing safety. So, similar to what you heard about bath safety, it's all about having everything you need in one place so that you never have to step away, more than hands reach from baby on the changing table. And it might seem like, okay, well, this is a newborn, they're not going anywhere. Um, Babies wriggle and they flip and flop in ways that we don't always expect them to. So it's also really good just to get into the practice of never being more than that hand away from the baby because they do get older, and they will suddenly learn how to roll themselves over, or do other weird and stick things in their mouth that you don't really want them to put in their mouth and those kind of things. So if you're just in the habit of never being further than a hand away, then that's a good way to do it. So whatever surface you're going to use for your changing table, and I do recommend something that's at a comfortable height for you, for your own safety, so that you're not always bending over. You're going to hurt your back, your neck, your shoulders, all of those things. Have something set up. Usually have some sort of padding. You can get almost like a molded foam, or even just put a couple of blankets around a little bassinet mattress or something like that, so that baby is on a nice soft surface. Again, have your wipes, have cotton balls. Maybe you're going to use some warm water just in case you have a little thing of water there, extra diapers, your diaper cream, all, and whatever pail you're going to put your diapers in. I was recently at someone's house, and everything except for the diaper pail was right there, and the diaper pail was like 3 or 4 steps away. And when you've got a handful, maybe you've got, you've had a poop explosion and you're going through way more wipes than you ever thought possible, you want to be able to get rid of some of those quickly, without having again to step away. So all of that stuff in one place. If you do have to turn away or step away for any reason, keeping one hand on baby's tummy is just a good way to make sure that they aren't going to go anywhere. Um, a lot of people will put all of those things into a diaper caddy, just some sort of little basket or holder. Um, when baby gets a bit older and their arms and things are moving around, you don't want them to be able to stick their hand into the diaper cream and then, before you know it, they've got a mouthful or an eyeful of diaper cream. So all of those things, all of it really is just to say, don't go more than an arm's length away. If you think there might have been a poop explosion, or that their diaper has leaked, make sure that you've got that change of clothes close to hand. You can easily reach the next container of cream or the next package of wipes. All of that stuff right there, right to hand. All else fails, pick up the baby, put them somewhere where they cannot ever fall off. And then you can, deal with what it is that you need to deal with. You may end up with poop and pee on you, but that's life as a parent. Generally, there will be bodily fluids all over you at multiple times for the rest of your life. Also, and it's not so much safety, but just for your convenience, if you're in a townhouse or a house that's got multiple floors, set up a mini changing station on each floor so that you're not constantly going up and down the stairs with the baby, because that can also be a safety hazard. If you're trying to get up the stairs and you've got a slippery wriggly baby or something like that in your arms, or you're overly tired or whatnot, it's easier just to have one of everything on each floor. So I think that's about it. Those are kind of the basics, but I will pass it on to Laura now.
Thank you, Carla. So today I'll be talking about secondhand equipment in relation to safety, of course. So one of the biggest pros of using secondhand equipment is that it saves money on some really expensive baby items. However, there are a couple of things that you would want to consider before buying something used. And so I have a few examples. I will talk about three that are generally not recommended to buy used, and then I'll give three examples of ones that you can buy used, and just some suggestions for how to make that decision safely. So the first is car seats. Most of the information that you'll find is that you should not purchase this used. And one of the biggest reasons for that is that in any car accident, whether it's major or minor, can weaken the structural integrity of the car seat. In addition, with the material that they're made out of, and the hot and cold weather that we have here in Canada, this can wear out the fabric as well as the plastic parts. Um, we need to be sure that all parts are accounted for and not damaged. Car seats also do have expiry dates, and the safety standards may change from time to time. And so if you are going to go secondhand, just be mindful of these things. Now, of course, if the secondhand car seat was yours from your first child, for example, and it hasn't been in an accident, it's not expired, there haven't been any recalls, there's no cracks or missing parts, then it should be fairly safe to say that it's okay to use again. Yeah, so just be mindful of that with car seats. The second one I wanted to talk about was breast pumps. Similarly, most of the information you will find is that you should not share breast pumps, as they're not meant for multiple users. The only ones that are meant for multiple users are hospital grade ones, or the ones that are specifically meant for renting out to families for a time. The reason why these are the non-hospital grade ones are not recommended to be purchased secondhand, are mainly for sanitary reasons, as they could have bacteria or mold, especially not mold, bacteria or other contamination can be transferred, as well as the seals and the motor on the non-hospital grade ones will lose their effectiveness over time. And thirdly, mattresses. So these are not recommended to be purchased secondhand. Similarly, for sanitary reasons, especially if the inside of the mattress is exposed, this is where bacteria or molds could grow. But also, as mattresses get softer with use, we don't want to use anything that would increase the risk of SIDS. So we recommend firm mattresses as best. Some of the items that you could buy secondhand, though, are things like baby carriers. What you would want to look out for is, are they sturdy? Make sure there are no tears, no rips. We don't want to see any worn out spots. Check the straps or the harnesses. Check clips and buckles to make sure that they're strong and secure before purchasing. The second is high chairs. So typically, what I found is that those that are no more than 10 years old are generally fine. But what you want to look out for when you're purchasing used, are they clean? Or are you able to like thoroughly clean them? Are they sturdy? So making sure they don't tip easily. Generally, that means they have a wider base. They need to have a 5-point harness and a crotch post. So that's the post that's in between baby's legs. Some of the older high chairs may not have these key safety features and may also have been made with lead paint or material that could cause splinters. And then the last one I wanted to mention are cribs. So it's important to note that the safety standards for these have changed over the years. It's no longer allowed to use cribs that have drop-down sides, bumpers, or have slats that are wide enough to pass a can of soda through. So similar to the high chairs, older cribs may have also been painted with lead paint. Sorry, just to summarize, excuse me, there are a few items that are not recommended to buy secondhand, but for lots of other equipment, you can really save on money by buying used. Just keep safety in mind when making your decision. So check for recalls. If the equipment moves, like a stroller, ensure that the brakes are working, the wheels are secure. Make sure you can account for all parts and that there are no damages. If it has a manual, that's great because a lot of the information should be in there about like what the parts are and how it should work and the model number to check for recalls, etc. Check and see when the product was made and what the expiry date is. And last but not least, Canada will have like a safety standard seal on these equipment as well to look out for. So if it's missing the necessary stickers, might be best to stay away from. And now I'll pass it on to Mandy, I think to talk about sleep.
Hi, everybody. Yes, I'm talking about sleep. I'm a postpartum doula at Helping Hands. I do day and night shifts. And sleep and babies in general is a huge topic. And so I try to cover the basics, and that will hopefully help you to prepare for your baby. So your baby should always sleep alone in their crib and on their back. That's easy to remember with the ABC of safe sleep. A for alone, D for back, and C for crib. And when you set up the crib, ensure that it's free from soft bedding, toys, or pillows or bumper pads. And like Laura said, have a new mattress, and it should be firm with a fitted sheet. So that's basically everything your baby needs in the crib. So avoid to have anything else inside. For the dressing, you can dress your baby in very light and breathable clothing to avoid overheating. And so a simple onesie and a sleep sack can be perfect. and the room temperature should be more on the cooler side. If you're breastfeeding, you can still bring your baby into your bed for the feeding, but make sure that you don't fall asleep with the baby on you, and you never know what's happening. So make sure you are awake, and if you know you are so tired, then it's better to go somewhere else where you can stay awake. And then after feeding, you can put the baby back into the crib. I also want to talk about the co-sleeping. If you decide to let the baby sleep with you in your bed, and it's also possible, but you have to do it correctly so that it's safe for your baby. I just want to mention some key points. And also, like the same as with the crib, the surface is important. Have a firm mattress on your bed. Avoid water beds, soft mattresses, or sofas, because there is the risk that the baby can overheat, or that something is like going on the face of the baby. Also, the position matters. Place the baby on their back for sleep, and it's the best if the parents sleep in a C, so that they're like this around the baby. And make sure that there are no pillows or blankets close to the baby. And also make sure that there is no gap between the mattress and the headboard or the wall, so the baby cannot get trapped. I already said that you shouldn't have soft bedding, so keep the bedding to a minimum. Avoid any like blankets or pillows, and make sure that everyone is like you, and like whoever is in the bed is dressed warm enough. And also don't have any stuffed animals, or like also the feeding, like the breastfeeding pillows, you have to put them away from the bed when the baby is sleeping there. And also what's important, if the baby is sleeping in your bed or in the crib in your room, there shouldn't be consumed any alcohol, medications, or substances that might affect your awareness. So you should be sober and aware, and that's essential for co-sleeping. And co-sleeping is a personal choice, but it's very important to follow some guidelines, and so that you make sure that it's safe for the baby. And if everything is followed, it's a good way to bond with your baby. And I pass it on to Heidi.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks, Mandy. Thanks, everybody. Boy, there are so many good tips tonight. I hope you guys have been taking notes. I'm going to talk a little bit, I just want to introduce myself. My name's Heidi, and I'm a postpartum doula with Helping Hands. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about something that several of the doulas have mentioned, and that is overheating. And I think it's really important that when you bring your baby home from the hospital, that you have a sense of, what some of the systems of the baby are not fully developed yet. And so one of those systems is their ability to regulate temperature. As Sharon mentioned, their little sweat glands don't work properly yet, so they can't cool themselves down very well. So that's important to keep in mind. The other thing is their circulatory system is not, at your and my level. So often when we touch babies' hands or feet, they feel cool to the touch. And that can make new parents, and especially grandparents, worried that baby's is too cold and needs to be wrapped up and kept warm. And it goes, it really is part of our instinct. We have these new babies and we want to cuddle them and swaddle them and make sure that they're warm. And I just want to bring to everyone's attention that a baby that is kind of cool will let you know. They'll be fussy, they'll be uncomfortable, they probably won't sleep, and they'll let you know if they're too cool. But a baby that we've wrapped up too much and is dressed too heavily might get lethargic and sleepy and not able to tell you that they're too hot. So I think it's really important as parents that we know that overheating is more of a concern really than our baby being too cold. And so instead of checking your baby's temperature by touching their hands and their feet, you want to check their ears or their neck, because that will give you a better indication of what their core temperature is. So look for red, hot ears. If their neck is hot or their chest, if you see, sweaty hair, you know that they are too hot and you've got to take off a layer. A general rule that we'll often say to parents is that, the baby just needs the same as you, plus maybe one light level if you're not holding the baby. Once you're holding the baby, you have to sort of take into account your body heat, because when you first bring your baby home, if you have a postpartum doula, we are always handing you a baby that's just wearing diapers for you to nurse or to spend skin to skin time with. And what's amazing is that our bodies, when we go skin to skin with our baby and they're just wearing a diaper and have their skin on your chest, we can regulate their temperature very well. And all they need is maybe just a really light cotton receiving kit on their backs. So keep that in mind too. If you're going to be having your baby in a carrier or snuggled close, they really will receive a lot of warmth from your body. And so keep that in mind. The general rules for temperatures of the room are around 20 to 22 degrees Celsius. So, and again, just using that one extra layer for what baby needs beyond what you're wearing. Being careful about things like putting hats on babies, because that's the only place that they can really lose some heat is off their head. So you don't want a baby to sleep with a hat on, because that's their only way to kind of get rid of a bit of heat. Plus a hat could be something that could come over their face if it dislodged or something like that. If your baby is overheating, the things that I wanted to really just mention is just to be aware of it. The rest is really common sense. You're going to find a cooler place, you're going to take off a layer, you're going to offer cool liquids, you could even put a cool compress on if you feel that they are too hot. But really, I just wanted to mention this and go a little bit further into it so that it was something that you were aware of and understood sort of the rationale behind. So I am finished, and I guess the fun part of the meeting will really start soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. That was a great way to end our conversation. So next we're going to be moving into our breakout rooms. So what will happen is you'll be asked to join a room. You will stay in the room that you join, and the doulas will come and go. There'll be a warning at the top of the screen letting you know when the time is about to be up, and then the doulas will move around and you just get to sit back and relax. It would be wonderful if you have your cameras on so we can see you and chat. We don't care, and we actually hope that you're in your pajamas and comfortable and enjoying this evening inside. So sit back and relax and enjoy chatting with us in the breakout rooms.